In a franchise like Far Cry, the antagonists reign supreme, with some of gaming's most famous faces like Vaz, Pagan and Joseph, but lurking in their shadows are the unsung heroes whom never gets any validation or recognition. Many will scoff at them and think that they are not even necessary in the game, but I disagree. I would say that the protagonists are essential for the franchise and how some of them are even phenomenal in that regard. Don't get me wrong, there are also many stinkers. But let me spread some love and critique of Far Cry's protagonists. Now you might be wondering how I'm going to rank them since 3 of them are, well, silent protagonists. Well, I will simply judge them based on whether their characters fit the theme or the grand story around them. And remember, these are my personal picks, and if you disagree, feel free to comment down below. So grab your machete, be ready for chaos, and most of all, try and keep your sanity intact.
I got the touch. I got the power, yeah!
What is this? A bad spy movie?
That's you.
That's me.
Rookie, cuff this son of a bitch.
I have seen your face before. God showed it to me in a dream.
What you got there, diamonds?
I'll get them. All of them. I swear.
Machi, sami kartici napa.
Coño!
At the bottom of the list, we obviously have the security captain, or Cap for short, from Far Cry New Dawn, and it's easily the lowest point of the Far Cry protagonists, as we simply play as a silent protagonist and that's pretty much it. Even the premise is quite weak, as we play as a security captain for Thomas Rush, who is on his way to help rebuild prosperity in the ruins of Hope County from Far Cry 5. Throughout the game, we need to take down the highwaymen, basically bandits, with some of the most cringe-worthy villains I have ever met. The main issue with Cap is that the character don't really have much to do with the story, and the game is quite short, and it's not enough focus on our character, or for us to become connected with other characters. And the duality between Cap and the main antagonist, the twins, is just weak and boring. Now, the game tries to make you another chosen one, as Joseph Seed has seen you in his vision, and there are some semblance of something interesting going on here, and Joseph is easily the best part of the game, with him bonding with Cap. It's not the worst, but when we eat the gift of Eden, then we have to fight our inner demons, but my first thought was, how the hell am I going to fight something inside of myself when I'm not anyone in the first place? Just compare this fight to the one from Far Cry 3, where Jason fights the ink monster, which has some really interesting dialogue regarding his identity and how he is slowly molded to become the perfect warrior. There is substance there. Here it's just kill big bear demon, rawr. But I gotta give it some points though for giving us the superpower melee punches and the ragdoll physics. It's just too bad that a cool scene like this has no meaning because we play as a non-character. Overall, there is not much to say here. The character was kinda doomed from the start, as New Dawn is too short of a game. But I also think many fans by this point was tired of the same old silent protagonist and they wanted something new. And therefore, Cap is at number 9. Yeah, when your character select screen looks like this, you know there is not going to be much of a main character here. And that is why the deputy is ranked number 8. And the deputy is yet another silent protagonist because, yay, I do rank this character above Cap due to the fact that the overall story of the game is great, and when you really analyze it and you understand what the game is trying to say, that it's speaking to you directly and not the deputy, it's only an avatar for you. And when you factor in the religious elements such as Joseph Seed repeating the line of how you are breaking the 7 seals and how that will cause the end of the world, and it's an interesting discussion and theme. If he's insane or if this is going to happen. And if we are the ones who kickstarted the apocalypse since we broke all of the seals, when we could have just walked away at any time, so the setting is interesting. Taking down this whole doomsday cult and starting a resistance throughout the county, but again, I think the game would have had much more potential if we had a real protagonist. If the deputy had more agency. Imagine if we played as a character who has lost faith in God, and how the character is met with these challenges throughout the game that God does exist according to the various seed members. And how each region makes the protagonist more faithful to God or they start to believe again. It could be something interesting, but there is just not much to say with what we got, so let's jump into some more interesting protagonists.
I thought I knew God's plan. But I was wrong.
Alright, this one might seem quite controversial, as I'm well aware that most people tend to put AJ at either number 2 or number 3, but I disagree. He's definitely a number 7 placement, and there are many reasons for this. The performance is good. The issue is that AJ never has any character development whatsoever. He's the same from the start to the end. My issue is that he had such potential to be an interesting character, but by the end, it was just such a letdown. And that's what makes me rank AJ so low, is because of the lost potential, as he could have easily been maybe the best protagonist, as the premise of his arc is awesome, and it makes me so mad that he's so wasted because the premise of the game is so damn interesting, coming back to his birth country to spread his mother's ashes, where he's captured by the oh so charismatic pagan Min who wants to help you spread the ashes, as AJ's mom was Pagan's wife, and therefore he's kinda your stepfather. So already there is riveting drama and complex feelings between AJ and Pagan, and having these radio dialogues with Pagan throughout the game are great.
RJ?
Yes?
Awesome. Oh, just making sure you've been listening.
I just wish there was more dialogue from AJ towards Pagan. I swear, it feels like he says maybe 10 words in total to Pagan, while Pagan speaks to you for over 20 minutes. You see my point? Furthermore, the concept that AJ is caught up in a civil war where both sides want him for their own nefarious purposes, it's interesting. And how these people change before your eyes, becoming even more monstrous than Pagan himself. Such an interesting topic that few games even dare to tackle. So with all of these setups, what happened here? It feels like AJ just became a passive observer with no agency on his own, which for me, it ruins his character. And how people like him is beyond me, because he's not an interesting character whatsoever, and I think I know the main reason behind this. So after Far Cry 3 was released, people hated Jason and that he talked too much, so in Far Cry 4 they went the opposite way. The lead devs said that they removed up to 90% of AJ's voice lines. That's insane. I would have loved to know where they were going with this character, but it also makes sense as to why he feels so missing or underdeveloped, as if someone literally just tore out 90% of all of his dialogue. And it's no wonder he does not feel fleshed out, and how Pagan is the only one speaking to AJ while AJ is just quiet. Hell, that's every single conversation with everyone. And the sad part is that later in the game, where some major reveals happen regarding AJ's mother and father, and that he even had a sister, he did not even know about it. and it falls flat simply due to the fact that AJ reacts to this by saying nothing. Your whole worldview is being flipped upside down and you have nothing to say. Okay? I think I have made my points very clear now, and I stand by giving AJ such a low ranking due to the lost potential and just the awful character arc and development. What a waste.
Oh, good. You feel better now? Get it out of your system? Good. Maybe now we can finally shoot some goddamn guns.
At number 6 we have Takar from Far Cry Primal. I know the character was limited due to the game setting because, well, it's set in the Stone Age, where human language was not yet fully evolved, which makes conversations with other characters quite limiting. But we have seen other mediums tackle these types of characters in these types of settings before, and one example that comes to mind is the animated show Primal, where a caveman and a T-Rex bonds with each other and they work together without even talking to each other, yet still makes the viewer understand what they are saying with just their body movements, expressions and noises, and this is kinda where Takar falls flat, as the only thing he has going for him is what he's saying. The setting and storyline is really cool, as I think Primal is the best looking game in the whole franchise at points, and setting up a conflict between these 3 different tribes, where one are cannibals, the other are fire worshippers, and how the Wenya and Takar are more akin to the spiritual side and connection with nature. But the biggest difference that sets them apart is that the Wenya are willing to learn from others, which is a cool trait from Takar, as he's willing to accept enemies into the Wenya as long as they can be useful and want to be integrated into the tribe, and also teach them the secrets of the Udam and Isilla. Takar does stick the landing of giving him a quite simple story arc which he completes: find Oros, gather all the lost Wenya and defeat the big baddies to create security for his tribe. Though he never really changes or has any character development, I don't know what he's thinking, what he wants, or if there's anything he fears. I just feel like he's more like Jack Carver from Far Cry 1, a by-the-numbers character who does not really stand out, but they do what you expect them to do at least. So they're not setting up something grand and then disappoint you. I just feel like there was so much more untapped potential to do something interesting and new with the setting, but instead, he's kinda just mediocre. And I think that's why he belongs at number 6.
Uguama! Uguama Budakwala! Chesh, Kauti, Guarshu! Bow, bow!
Now, I said that AJ had such lost potential to be a great protagonist. Well, Dany might be ranked higher than AJ, but she suffers from the same exact problems that AJ had. Although Dany is the protagonist with the most dialogue by far out of any Far Cry protagonist, she falls flat simply due to having such a weak character arc, with barely any character progression whatsoever. She simply never changes throughout the game, and this becomes abundantly clear during the middle section of the game. She is only ever developed as a character during the prologue and endgame, which are maybe 3 hours in total, while the middle part is probably around 20 hours long. Nothing about Dany progresses through this middle point, which is a travesty. And the character of Dany it's just confusing to me, as they try to give her Jason's character arc, where he wants to save his friends and kill Vaz for killing his brother, and losing himself in the process, becoming more and more insane. Dany wants to help Libertad and get revenge for Anton Castillo killing her friends, and they just rush this motivation too fast and it never changes throughout the game. Take the prologue scene for example. You can't have us suddenly care for Dany when her friends die. Yeah, the first friend whom we know for 1 minute before he dies, and the other friend after 10 minutes, and they are barely characters. So again, you can't have us care for these characters, but Far Cry 3 kinda did the same with Grant, as he dies in the prologue and we see Jason frantically trying to save his life, and I felt something there, but here I feel nothing with Dany's friends. And the fact that they try to make this character such a big deal to Dany with flashbacks makes me just more confused and angry, because you can't present them in this way. We needed more of a connection to them. Seriously, why not have Dany have these two as friends? They all joined Libertad, the resistance, together, and they start off by being, well, kids playing around being guerrillas and not realizing the seriousness of the situation, but then something goes bad and her friends die and playtime is over, and we see Dany slowly becoming more brutal and angry towards the enemy soldiers and how she's becoming addicted to being a guerrilla.
Do you want to kill Anton? See. You want to free Yara? Sure you do. But here's what Clara can't say, but you and I both know. You want this. You're a guerrilla. And for a guerrilla, the shit my pants rush of an ambush, the smell of sulfur burning your nostrils, it's
fun.
It also does not help that there are maybe 6 side villains in total and you kill them all when you meet them for the first time. There is no setup whatsoever or dialogue in between them and Dany, and it just makes Dany feel like a passive observer, even more so than AJ. And the fact that the game is trying to be an RPG, as in all the cutscenes we see Dany in are third person, unlike previous Far Cry games where it's always first person. And I don't think this was a good choice, as we don't feel as immersed as Dany, and I truly believe that the RPG elements was needed when it comes to the dialogues in the game, where we can make choices but there are none. So Dany just comes across as a huskless void without any agency. She does whatever anyone tells her to do. Exactly what happened with AJ. But at least AJ and you were able to make certain choices throughout the game, who to side with, etc. Dany is just tagging along, nothing becomes more personal, no bigger stakes, just go along to the same tune. Dany had the potential to be a great character. If they developed her backstory more, why does she want to join the revolution? Why does she care so much about Diego, Anton Castillo's son? Nothing is ever explored, and the little that is not enough for me to care about Dany, as she just comes across as a mid character, and for me, she is ranked this low simply due to the massive untapped potential.
Dany, fucking say something!
And at the number 4 we have the first Far Cry protagonist, and yes, he's cliché as hell, but I don't care, I simply love him for it. The character does never take himself seriously, and he actually have some great lines throughout the game.
Whoa, I'm not touching a nuke. Not even a little tiny one. Doyle, unless you give us the antidote, you're not leaving this island alive. Now, I know you won't believe me until I've got a gun pointed at your head, but it's true.
Jack Carver is a former Special Forces agent who now needs to escape the island after his boat is blown up. And at the start of the game, it's your run-of-the-mill first-person shooter game where you travel around this beautiful paradise killing mercenaries. But towards the middle of the game, a new enemy faction is introduced who are mutants. And they are called Trigens, and it turns into a semi-horror game after this, and I think Jack fits in perfectly here. Because he does not simply care about the mutants that much, as he's tough as nails, has some dark humor.
No, please, you don't understand. They sent me. They're always watching. You can't change this. You can't change the future.
Probably not, but I can make sure you're not a part of it. Stupid bastard.
He wants to do what's right, and he's also willing to sacrifice his own life to save the world, and also his female love interests. And overall, I really like Jack Carver due to him not being this super deep character. He's doing what he's supposed to do in the setting, and it makes perfect sense. He does not need a tragic backstory. I don't think he's great, but I do like him, and that makes him higher than previous mentioned protagonists. Oh yeah, and what makes him cooler is that Ubisoft confirmed a few years ago that Jack Carver is the Jackal, the antagonist from Far Cry 2.
What is this? A bad spy movie?
Alright, now we're getting into the awesome category, because if Jack Carver had a few good jokes, then Rex Colt just does everything what he did, just much, much better.
No, Doc. No way. I swore an oath to a special lady.
Your wife?
No. Lady Liberty. She taught me that winners don't use drugs. Benji, no! Doc, I made it. But Benji didn't.
I'm sorry, Rex. He was a good man.
No, Doc. He was a real American hero.
Being a cyborg commando who is on a mission to stop a terrorist group from starting a nuclear war is a great premise for this character. And what makes the character so good is that the gameplay as Rex has been so streamlined, and it's like playing Far Cry 3 but with cheat codes. As you run faster, you don't need to traverse using vehicles, you take 0 fall damage, which means you don't have to care about height, and you can jump down from anywhere. The skill system was streamlined to level up automatically when you level up, giving you many cool new perks. Being able to upgrade your weapons and later using the kill star, which is probably the coolest weapon in the whole franchise. And all of this gameplay and cutscenes are filled with so many quotable lines from Rex power cults. The length of the game is only about 4 hours long, but they managed to somehow fill those 4 hours with so much content from Rex, and those few hours are glorious, and it's next to perfection. And to add to that, Rex is played by none other than Michael Biehn, who played Kyle Reese in the Terminator movie and Dwayne Hicks in Aliens. It's just a perfect blend of cheesy B sci-fi action movies from the 80s, and I just wish there was more of it, and he's easily the third best protagonist of the Far Cry franchise.
Are you Sergeant Rex Colt? Dr. Darling said you're some kind of hero.
I'm no hero. I'm just your everyday US military Mark IV cyber commando.
So this pick is probably going to ruffle a few feathers, because how the hell can I rank so many other silent protagonists at the bottom of the list, yet here one is at number 2? But it's quite simple. While the other silent protagonists didn't really say anything and we don't really interact with the world a lot or talk with others, it makes no sense in those settings, because why does a deputy who is native to the land not know anything about it or anyone there or talk to anyone, or a security captain who is mute? It just makes no sense. But this is what Far Cry 2 absolutely nails, because you play as a mercenary, and us not talking makes total sense because we are in Africa and we are just there to make money. We don't care which side we help as long as we are paid in diamonds. So again, us being silent here makes sense, while in Far Cry 5 and New Dawn, it doesn't make sense. And what really elevates this character is the ending, where the Jackal wants to save the innocent native population from the army, allowing them to escape to a neighboring country, leaving only the warlords and mercenaries in the country and let them all kill each other. And we are asked to cleanse our sins with the Jackal, who has been smuggling weapons all around the world, who have killed so many people. But now he wants it all to stop. And you want the same, as you have seen for yourself how senseless this war has been firsthand, and there is no real difference between either faction. Even the rest of the world does not care about the conflict anymore, but now with an opportunity to make things right, you take it. And this is why the Merc is at number 2.
The drone is the oppressor, the gluten-free sorghum bread is the oppressor, the AK-47 is the great equalizer. I empower these people.
Alright. We all knew who was gonna end up here at the top of the list. Hell, my video on Jason is what kickstarted this channel. Jason Brody is not only the best Far Cry protagonist, but I would go as far as to say that he's actually one of the greatest protagonists in all of gaming. He has such a beautiful, interesting and realistic journey, and is a great example of how to do a proper character transformation in a game which we have never seen this well done. What I think makes Jason so interesting is that he's very relatable to people, as many people feel just like him, especially men who feels displaced in the world, not knowing what they want to do in life and are just drifting along. Jason going from this guy with no passion or drive to become anything. He has no vision for the future, he has not worked a single day in his life, and this is all happening while he sees all of his friends and family move forward with their lives, and you can see he is the only one who is not progressing in life, and for many people, they can connect with that. This is exactly what makes his development so cool, as for the first time in his life, he's finally found his calling. Seeing him transform from this rich, annoying Cali kid who is addicted to adrenaline and having a panic attack after having killed someone for the first time, to becoming this stone-cold killer who is starting to go insane, who has started to associate killing with winning. And he's slowly becoming a monster, and he's losing his mind and humanity. What helps this transformation is that the whole game surrounds Jason's character progression, like the whole island and jungle setting, as it feels very much based on a combination between Alice in Wonderland, how there are so many quotes from it explaining Jason's journey, but also Heart of Darkness, as the jungle seems to transform any person who is in there for too long, where they even start to forget themselves.
In here, there's society, there's order. Out there, the jungle? The synapses in our brains go dark little by little. You forget where you're from, who you are.
Jason's journey is so phenomenal because it's such a unique story that we don't tend to see, because in most first-person shooters, we play as someone highly competent like Jason's brother Grant. But Jason is just some guy. And this game truly subverts expectations by making us play as the person with no militant background. Jason also has a great cast of supporting characters like his friends who are hiding in a cave while Jason is out there in the jungle saving them and getting his revenge. It's so interesting to see how these characters are reacting to Jason, how he is changing right before their eyes, and you can see that they are terrified of it.
I never thought I'd be able to kill someone. The first time it felt wrong, which is good, right? But now, it feels like winning.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And the reason why he's the only one changing is because of the jungle slowly taking over his mind, and he's out there trying to save more people and getting revenge while they are hiding away in the cave, not being afflicted by the jungle. And him slowly losing his mind to the jungle, how the jungle is taking over his mind, is perfectly encapsulated in the dream and drug sequences where we delve into Jason's mind, his thoughts, his fears and future with tons of symbolisms. How Jason's goals keeps on changing, starting with how he wanted to save his friends and brother, to killing Vas, to killing Hoyt, into doing whatever Citra wants him to do. It's fascinating, and it's portrayed in such an interesting way, which does not feel rushed whatsoever or that it just comes out of nowhere. The dynamic between Jason and Vas is great, where both are playing this cat and mouse game trying to outsmart each other, and how Jason seemingly can't die and comes back from the dead to get revenge. And it's not just the villains like Vas, Buck and Hoyt that are memorable, the allies like Dennis, Sam, Willis and all of his friends, they have their own personalities and goals. It never feels like Jason is just doing what everyone tells him to do, he has his own agency. And for all of these reasons, this is why Jason is ranked as the best Far Cry protagonist, and I just wish that there will be another one that can rival him in the future.
Who are you, Jason? What kind of man are you?
And that's the list. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would like to know how you would rank the Far Cry protagonists. Let me know down in the comment section. Well, I will see you in the next one, where we are going to rank the Far Cry antagonists. So, until then, have a good one, guys.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity. is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.